I have to admit that the first few chapters of book moja, Black Righteousness, was a bit slow and boring. However, being in and around the military for most of my childhood, I've come to realize that understanding a person's upbringing and beliefs is crucial to truly understanding them. So, I included it a person who doesn't take time to understand another is closed-minded and lacks understanding, which is the first step towards wisdom. Are any of us to think our way of thinking is the only way to be. With that being said, I'm almost done with book moja, only 4 more chapters and I'm excited to finish it for you. If you've listened to it, please let me know your likes and thoughts in the comments below. Also, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. With book Billy, Black Love, I will automatically post it once I reach mia moja subscribers. Kush sovereignty Billy, Black Love. Lastly, I've started a new Facebook page at facebook.com, Kush sovereignty. Help me finish my series by donating at Cashapp, $LarryBolin, PayPal, LarryBolin, Venmo, JaMsBolin. Thank you again for listening and please let me know if you have any feedback or language suggestions for me. James Bolin. Now, let's finish the story. Chapter 21, Self-hatred is a sin. The next day was the beginning of challenging and rigorous training for the new group of warriors that had just joined the newfound family. It was as if the wedding hadn't happened, other than the fact that Jonathan and Joy were smiling at each other throughout the day. The hours, days, and weeks had passed, and before long 3 months. The men and women performed Jene, read the Torah, and learned the weaponry and fighting techniques of Wanyenyekevu and the other warriors. Each warrior named their group after animals for competition purposes, and trained their groups just as hard as Wanyenyekevu had taught them. Some, like Obe and Daniel, taught even harder. Daniel named his group the dragons, Obe's group the bears, Jome was the tigers, Jonathan. No Khaled al-Dib, the wolves, Elisha, black mamba, Elijah, apes, drake, praying mantis, Joy, scorpions, and Mercy were the panthers. The friendly competitions lasted months, and then as a whole, they were taught by Wanyenyekevu for 3 months how to fight as a team instead of separately, learning the isilangu, the asegai, and understanding the meaning of umkumbi, impi, and iwa. And of course, finally, pointed you. A total of 9 months had passed, and Sabaoth was pleased with his people's progress. They were 74 strong. Wanyenyekevu woke up early on a Sunday morning around Moja and stood by the lake thinking about his family in Louisiana and all the things he had been through since he left, when he noticed Neriglisar approaching him. Neriglisar was heavy-hearted as he spoke to Wanyenyekevu. I have learned so much from you spiritually, but my physical man is confused, and I feel much pain, because I don't know who I am. Wanyenyekevu smiled, have you ever wondered why I picked you to train by my side? You are a man of conviction, a humble man, selfless, and someone with those characteristics, can and will always be a good leader. No, I don't know if I can say anything to comfort you, but I can tell you this, self-esteem or self-worth can help that feeling disappear. You need to find out who you are as a person, and love yourself. If you love yourself, nothing else matters, and you will eventually find everything you need in life. Family and ancestry are an important part of life, and you didn't have one. You were born a slave, and lived as one all your life. I can only imagine your pain. Fight that pain, deal with that reality, and move on, me friend. For many years, my ancestors were slaves just like you were, but that was back when this country was first formed as the United States. Wanyenyekevu took a seat on the ground, followed by nijulishe as he continued, years after slavery, our people went through a phase of taug self-destruction, self-hatred, and low self-esteem, and it nearly destroyed an entire generation of people. They started bleaching their skins, refusing to marry their rate, which was heartbreaking, but Sabaoth stepped in and cured the hearts of his people. To be perfectly honest, the people who this country tried to destroy were the same people who led this country into salvation, but that's another story. Nijulishe's size was intimidating, but his heart was as big as he was. Tears falling from his eyes, he looked at wanyenyekevu, I'm ashamed of my past and confused about who I am. I understand I have to forgive myself. First, but it's hard. Wanyenyekevu said, transatlantic slave trade, or the maafa, meaning great disaster, in Swahili, the African Holocaust, and some even called it the Holocaust of enslavement, Nijulishe said. Excusez me? Wanyenyekevu continued, they robbed many of our people of their ancestry. Pointing to himself and back to Nijulishe, our people. Nijulishe said. With a blank look on his face, our people. Wanyenyekevu said, look around us, we have many nationalities that surround us at this location, living in peace. We are united with one common enemy, the Albanians, who are not of this world. But centuries ago, all black people like us were brought to this country in the transatlantic slave trade, and those already here were taken as slaves. All this took place across the Atlantic Ocean for 400 years. African men, women, and children were initially snatched from Senegambia and the Windward Coast. Slave traders later moved their operations to West Central Africa near the Kingdom of the Congo and neighboring Angola. West Africans sold West Africans from the central and western parts of the continent to European slave traders. Then the Europeans became familiar with the territory and started capturing and selling them, themselves, to the Americas. They took slaves to the Caribbean, South America, especially Brazil, then to North America because the South Atlantic economic system centered on producing crops and making goods and clothing to sell in Europe. This alone increased the numbers of African slaves needed. This was crucial to those Western European countries competing to create overseas empires. They say the Portuguese were the first to engage in the slave trade, but the Arabs then Portugal started, and others soon followed suit like the British, the French, the Spanish, the Dutch Empire, and even the United States. Centuries later, millions of enslaved Africans were exported by the Red Sea, through the Swahili ports of the Indian Ocean, along the Trans-Saharan Caravan Route, and of course, the millions that were transported across the Atlantic Ocean to the Americas. Ships departed Europe for African markets with manufactured goods such as cloth, liquor, tobacco, beads, cowrie shells, metal goods, and guns, which were traded for purchased or, should I say, for kidnapped Africans. Who were transported across the Atlantic as slaves. The slaves were then sold or traded for raw materials and transported back to Europe. Nijulishe was upset, saying, "Oh, could be so heartless." Wanyenyekevu shook his head, even. The educational system of the past force-fed us lies for centuries until the invention of the internet, which allowed our people to dig for the truth. But these heartless people were organized by companies or groups of investors rather than individuals, and shipowners considered the slaves as cargo, not even human beings. Our people were transported to the Americas as quickly and cheaply as possible. Arriving in the Americas to be sold to labor in coffee, tobacco, cocoa, sugar, and cotton plantations, gold and silver mines, rike fields, construction industry, cutting timber for ships, unskilled labor, and as domestic servants. The first Africans imported to the English colonies were first classified as indentured servants or apprentices for life. They and their offspring were legally the property of their owners, and children born to slave mothers were slaves. As property, the people were considered labor units sold in markets with other goods and services. The business was so demanding that the Portuguese established these outposts along the African coast, where they purchased slaves from local African leaders. The old history books said that about 12 million to 20 million Africans were said to have been sold in the Americas, but the number purchased by the traders is said to be much higher. Of those numbers, millions were raped, murdered, and died before reaching their destination. Nereglisar stood there listening in awe, as wanyenyekevu talked, unaware of the time. Wanyenyekevu considered himself an expert in history and enjoyed learning and teaching about it. He continued, centuries after slavery ended, many names were given to blacks. The most popular names were Negroes, Niggers, African Americans, and other, not so illustrious names like Abed, an Arabic term that means black, that many Middle Eastern immigrants to the United States used. Ate of spades Africant, for those unemployed or so-called lazy blacks. African, a combination of African and con. Afro, referring to their hairstyle. American, a combination of American and con. Angus, which was a black breed of beef cattle. Ape. And even apple, which has to do with hanging from a tree, because thousands upon thousands of our people were lynched, and most of them were business owners and women. Arf, a term for blacks because of their poor swimming abilities. Ashy, because when our skin gets dirty, it looks ashy. Aunt Jemima, Babon, Banjo Lips, and many more. It can go on and on. Many leaders died for the right to be equal in this country, but to no avail. Blacks have fought in every war the Americans had ever fought. Despite that, we were still treated in such a shameful way. Men, women, and children were raped, murdered, and died until the European descendants realized that violence was the way, so they treated psychological warfare, which was the itching on the cake. Jim Crow's lighter skin versus darker skin, the women against the men, and the children against the parents, almost treated genocide amongst our people. On top of that, the stole to prison pipeline. Where 70% of those locked up were blacks. The oppression led to negative behavior in that we started manipulating and taking advantage of each other. You had the false black preachers, coined pimps, in the pulpits, who would take advantage of lonely black women, causing many not to believe in about. Women started dating a very rate but their own and firmly refused. Black boys and men began disrespecting their black sisters at an unheard of level, even by today's standards. Many turned to homosexuality and even murdered one another. Self-hatred almost killed a very black person in this country in those days. Self-hatred is like telling about, he didn't know what he was doing when he treated you. Therefore, to me, self-hatred is a sin. Wanyenyekevu notiked the sun sing, look at the time. Wanyenyekevu lauged, ive talked your ear off, but we need to rest. Nereglisar was not sleepy and wanted him to continue, never heard of those words like nigger, but he felt so much better. Just listening to you speak about our history, please, you must continue. Wanyenyekevu said. Te use wakatilians and katie no, but I'm always happy to teach, and I'm still learning more about history myself. But maybe later today, we can talk even more after I get some rest. Wanyenyekevu had slept until tatupum, as he walked out of the tent. Neriglisar and a few Wakatilians were waiting for him to come out to finish his story. One of the women standing there had already prepared a meal for him, and he smiled and bowed to the young lady. I'm just as eager to tell you what I know, as well, thank you. After a few bites, he passed Neriglisar half of his plate. Have some. Neriglisar shook his head. No, thanks, I've already eaten. Wanyenyekevu offered his plate to a few more men, and they all rejected it, but thanked him. Wanyenyekevu took a few more bites and asked, how far are you in the Torah? They all shouted different books, Daniel, Isaiah, Matthew, Proverbs. Wanyenyekevu said, God enog. Taking a drink and sitting on the ground, the men followed. We stopped at the transatlantic slave trade. They took our identity and culture away from us and fed us lies for centuries. I need to backtrack a bit. It all started rigged here in the Torah. Let's start after the flood. For instance, Noah and his wife, 3 sons, and their wives were the only people saved. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From these 3 sons of Noah, the entire planet was repopulated. According to his story, the ark rested on Mount Ararat, in the land of Armenia, which is located north of what is said to be called Iran, east of Turkey, and south of Georgia. Pulling up a map on his tablet with difficulty, I'm still not that good with this, just now learning this technology since I left home. Pulling up 3 maps of the earth, he pointed to the first one. This is how the earth looked at this time. During the age of Noah, it was on a massive rock called Pangaea. Armenia was located here. Now up to this point, the entire planet spoke on a language. Most of the people dwelled in on a location called the Valley of Shinar located here. Men began to build a tower up to heaven. An ancient Jewish historian, Flavius Josephus, said, God also commanded them to send colonies abroad to repopulate the earth, but the people did not obey God. They say Nimrod, the Ethiopian, held the people under his dictatorship. When they were building the tower, that was the same Tower of Babel, of course. God disapproved of its construction because it showed disbelief in his word to go out and replenish the earth, a confused men's language, and scattered them to the 4 corners of the earth. Wanyenyekevu took a few seconds to think and then said, it only makes sense. That those who understood each other left with one another. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, as I mentioned before, so men were classified as Shemites, Hamites, and Japhethes, and not Caucasoid, Mongoloid, or Negroid. The ancients, including the Greeks and Romans, identified people according to their national or tribal names. They used Visigoths, Vandals, Saxons, Ethiopians, Carthaginians, Jews, Arabs, Persians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Moors, etc. Naming people Birakes happened later in Europe. Certain Germans and others conceived of themselves as belonging to Ab. Wanyenyekevu gestured with his fingers, a superior rate, men like Johann Blumenbach, Jagobineau, and Chamberlain, who were the first to divide humanity based on skin color, wanted to advance the supremacy of the white race and its culture. Racism caused millions of deaths and thousands of wars. Race classification set up the color line, designated to treat hatred, which was more like envy. Anyway, I'm getting kind of the subject, which is a subject all by itself. Let's just say many people who look like us had to learn our history again because they spoon-fed us lies about who we were for centuries. Taking down the first map and pointing to the second and third maps, wanyenyekevu started, these two maps are really what I want you to pay attention to. This first map is what the planet looked like during the beginning of creation. The Pangea began to break up. Some people have different times when this happened, but through tectonic plate movement, caused by convection, and just as the Pangea was formed through the activity from rift zones, it also generated this supercontinent to separate. That was when the people separated, during the Tower of Babel, and it looked pretty much like this map here, and since the Albanians come now, it pretty much looks like an eat sandwich. By looking at this first map, you will know where these places are located. Today, some don't exist anymore, and now most humans just live along the equator. Anyways, as I was saying, the parts of the earth inhabited by the children of Shem were parts of the territory of Assyria and Elam, or simply Persia east of the Tigris River, the eastern part of Syria, and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. The second classification of humanity was the Hamites, who controlled the great centers of civilization in ancient times soon after the flood. This civilization included the continent of Africa, the land of Canaan or Israel, and parts of Arabia. Syria, Phoenicia, Turkey, Babylonia, southern Persia or Iran, East Pakistan, and India. And the third classification of humanity was the Japetes, from Japheth, the youngest son of Noah. The offspring of Japheth occupied what was known as the Isles of the Gentiles, the shore territories of the Mediterranean Sea in Europe and parts of Asia Minor, for they migrated northward over the entire continent of Europe and a prominent part of Asia. Japheth's descendants traveled west, north, and northeast of the mountain of Ararat and the Caucasus Mountains. Wanyenyekevu looked up and noted that he had attracted an enormous crowd attentively listening as he continued. Gomer was the ancestor of the first Cimmerians and the latter Cimbri, including other offshoots of the Celtic family and the Gaels of Ireland, Scotland, and the Hebrides Islands. The second son of Japheth was Magog, the father of the Magogites. Flavius Josephus remembered that name, for he was a great Jewish historian, and he said that the Greeks called these people Scythians. The Scythians included all the wandering tribes who dwelt near the north of the Black and Caspian Seas. The ancients regarded them as tremendously lacking in intelligence and civilization. Japheth's third son, Madai, is the father of the Medes. They were located in the southern part of the Caspian Sea and later united with the Persians to form Onerate. From Javan, the fourth son of Japheth, came the Ionians and all the Greeks. Tubal, the fifth son of Japheth, is associated with Javan, Meshech, and Tubal, which are nations of the north. The last son of Japheth was Tiras, the father or ancestor of the Thracians. This land, Thrace, was north of Turkey, Asia Minor, and northeast of Crete. Japheth's grandson, Ashkenaz, formed the Germanic Rate. In Hebrew, the name Ashkenaz means German. The Germanic tribes were nomadic people. They were Lombards, Burgundians, Franks, Saxons, Angles, Jutes, Ostrogoths, Visigoths, Sueves, and Vandals. These 10 Germanic barbarian tribes settled all over Western Europe. All these tribes were the descendants of Japheth. The Europeans did not have any great civilization immediately after the fall of Crete and Rome. During the Middle Ages, the black nations of Africa and Asia had the most remarkable political, economic, educational, and military influence in the world. At this time, Europe existed in a state of darkness for 1,000 years. The earliest civilizations began in North Africa and the Middle East among the black races. Wanyenyekevu was interrupted by Elijah. We have a people about 10 miles away approaching our location on foot, from the south heading this way. Wanyenyekevu smiled at Neriglisar. We will continue this later, but let me say this, never believe everything that I say, look it up, and always read for yourselves. The truth is out there, and never trust the word of a man. Research for yourself. Then he turned to Elijah. Well, this is the nearest place to find water. It only makes sense, but let's say if they are friendly or foe, bit away, as he slowly walked away, and turned to Neriglisar. Your name, Neriglisar, is a Babylonian name. There once was a prince named Neriglisar, also known as Nergal-Share-Usur, who was a leading prince in the court long before he seized the throne. He entered Jerusalem with the armies of Nebuchadnezzar and held the post of Rabmag with the occupying armies. I don't know the meaning of Rabmag, but I believe it is some kind of high political office. Anyways, Nergal-Share-Usur was one of the princes of the king of Babylon, because the Torah said, and he sat in the middle gate of Jerusalem, which served as the center of government for the Babylonians before they destroyed the city. Neriglisar or Nergal-Share-Usur released the prophet Jeremiah from prison and entrusted him into the hands of Gedaliah. He married a daughter of Nebuchadnezzar and, for that reason, considered himself a legitimate successor to his throne. Obe and his entire group, alongside Wanyenyekevu, got on their horses and slowly rode up to the strangers as they continued to walk toward them. An old man gestured to his followers to stop as he spoke to Wanyenyekevu, evening, my friend. My name is Raphael, pointing to the members of his company. This is my wife, Leticia, my sons Jaime, Miguel, Fernando, and Alejandro, my daughters, Josefina and Silvia, and my nephews Jose and Juan. Where? Wanyenyekevu, already saying the meeting, quickly shot Juan and Jose without a word. Wanyenyekevu then said to the old man, your enemies are now dead. Please tell me what they were planning to do to you and your family. The old man was still in a state of shock. How did you know? Wanyenyekevu smiled. Let's just say I saw it ahead of time. Plus, your formation was all wrong, or puts the elderly up front. The old man replied, they were going to sell us as slaves because of a debt owed by my son, Jaime. We are from Chihuahua, Mexico, but they forced us to go to Reserva de la Bisfera Llanos, awaiting someone to get us, but they didn't make it, so they forced us to walk when they didn't show up. We have not eaten in 2 days and are very weak. Wanyenyekevu looked at Obe and shook his head. My friend, take this people back to camp, feed them, and make them as comfortable as possible. The husband and wife can take my horse. One of the men got down off his horse. No, one of them can take mine. 4 more men stepped down, allowing the rest of Raphael's family to take their horses. Obe rode off as Wanyenyekevu and the men walked back towards camp. Neriglisar and Jome were later seen approaching them with 5 more horses less than 6 miles away. I'm not the only one with a big heart, I say. Said Neriglisar. Smiling, Wanyenyekevu said, no, you're not. And I just bet you wanted to bring us horses out at the goodness of your heart. Neriglisar laughed, yeah. Plus, you're a bossy man, and no one is trying to die. So I was talking to myself. I said, hey, self. You know what? You figured we could learn some more about our history if we take Wanyenyekevu some horses. Wanyenyekevu, laughing, God answer. Getting on the horses, the small group headed toward camp. Wanyenyekevu, trying to remember where he had left off, well. Oh, we come to the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Ethiopians were black people. Wanyenyekevu stopped for a moment as he looked at the other man. I'm sorry, if you want to go ahead, it's all right. They shook their heads and listened attentively as well. Well, these men contributed much to the advancement of civilization. Because they studied astrology, they were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. These black people were so intelligent that they could divide the years into months, weeks, hours, minutes, and seconds. In mathematics, they developed the decimal system. The most famous Babylonian king was Hammurabi. Even the Hebrews adopted his laws and then transmitted them to the Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans. The literature of the Babylonians is fascinating. Long ago, these black people wrote with sharp instruments on clay tablets. Thousands of these tablets have been found, which disclose a popular work known as the Enuma Elish or the Creation Epic. The story of how the world began derived from the Babylonians. After the dispersal of humanity at the Tower of Babel, the Black Hamites migrated toward the east, south, southwest, and west. These Black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan, later to be called Israel by the Hebrews. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, who was Canaan. We might call them Africans because of their blood relationship to the other inhabitants of the African continent. 11 Canaanite tribes were living in the land of Canaan and surrounding it before the black Israelites possessed it. Arriving at the camp, Wanyenyekevu located at Nijulishe. Now, the next time we have a time to talk, I want you to tell me something about our history and also tell me something that happens in history outside of the Torah. Giving Nijulishe his tablet, take this, I'll get another one from Jonathan or Elisha. Let's say in 2 weeks or so, but right now, I need to do a few things before I say about our friends that just arrived. 3 hours had passed since Wanyenyekevu had seen Raphael and his family, and he figured they were well rested and should have eaten by now. Wanyenyekevu knocked on the entrance and walked into the tent unsegregated. Seeing Raphael and his family, all were asleep except Raphael and his son Jaime, but they could tell it wouldn't be long before they would sleep. Wanyenyekevu whispered, I hope all is well with your family, and has everyone had plenty to eat? Raphael replied, all is well, and we thank you for your hospitality. Wanyenyekevu smiled, no problem. I say you, and yours are tired and sleepy. Please take your time and make yourself at home. We will talk in the morning unless you need to report to me any such dangers that we need to be aware of. Raphael said, I don't know of any. As Wanyenyekevu was walking out to bid them farewell and good night, Jaime said, wait. Handing Wanyenyekevu a piece of paper, Jaime said, you need to say this plate. Because many people dress like you are sent there by the hundreds, maybe even the thousands, every month on a spaceship. It usually comes in the middle of the night, but there was once when it arrived during daylight. It's a ship like no other. The ship is a metal-lit gray that would rotate from 0 to 180 degrees back to 0, then quickly rotate to 360 degrees and repeat this sequence. It has multiple holes where you can see through the ship, and it doesn't seem like it's capable of carrying so many. The key code to get past the large shooter doors hidden in the laces is on that paper. Wanyenyekevu looked down at the paper and read the numbers aloud. Sifurin bili sifurin sita sita. Jaime continued, there's an invisible walkway south of a red-painted boulder near the lake, northwest of the city of Ciudad Cuauhtémoc, Chihuahua, Mexico. It's heavily guarded by a banyan suite. About 3 or 4 uplink satellites on the far southeastern roof. Wanyenyekevu was curious. Mi people aside. James said. Are you not wakatilians? Wanyenyekevu with a peculiar look, well, yes, I am. Only thing. James said. I never heard them speak English. It's another tongue I'm not familiar with. Wanyenyekevu put a paper in his pocket. You two, get some sleep, we will talk in the morning.